Shit, look at this guy. Now, say something, Jesse. Say something. Say something to the people.
What's up?
Look
What's happening, guys?
Clean shaven, other than mustache motherfucker. Dude, he cleans up all nice and shit out there celebrating whatever the fuck he's celebrating on in Vegas. Being like a responsible child, I guess. But hey, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
With you back there? Oh no, you can't really see it, huh?
You can't see outside. You have to turn off the lights and then whatever. But all right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Keyboard Warriors, episode 82. My name is Eddie Law. That's Jesse Rock. I've all cleaned up and nice. And Mr. Fred Kirby out of Dayton. Fucking Vegas, dude. Vegas. That's the shit you do midway through the week. Why not? Why aren't you sticking around till New Year's? Because
not to be putting anybody on blast, but I had to work through the holidays and now I have to go back and work tomorrow, so that's why.
Listen,
I don't get that many days off work.
He's a Spaniard, Jack. You know how you Mexicans do. He ain't taking more than 3 days off work. He'll go into convulsions. He can't.
They won't allow us to do that shit, unfortunately. But anyway, all right. So speaking of, Vegas, capital of the fight world, UFC 219 this weekend. It's a big card for the females, obviously. Chris Cyborg defending against Holly Holm, and the co-main event at 155, Khabib Nurmagomedov will hopefully fucking make weight, not die, almost die on the way to the friggin' scale, and taking on Edson Barboza, which is a lot of people were kind of I don't know about you guys, but what I've seen, a lot of people are kind of like they're not giving Barboza a lot of a chance. I don't see it that way, but we'll see. All right, so let's kick off with the main event. Cyborg versus Holly Holm. Cyborg, easily the most feared female, like combat sports female on the planet, bar none. I can't think of anybody that's like scarier, right? And the most dominant, probably like right above Ronda Rousey. I mean, especially with what she's done in the UFC so far. Mind you can talk a lot about her competition and everything, but Fred, she's taking on another female. It's a natural 145er. It's not a small chick. Counter striker, boxer striker. What do you think on this fight?
Listen. Cyborg is so interesting to me, man, because on one hand, I completely agree with you. On one hand, I think that she might be who we all assume that she is, the most feared, best female MMA fighter of all time. But you said something earlier, possibly more feared or more credentialed than Ronda Rousey. Hindsight is 2020, man. I almost disagree with you a bit. Mm-hmm. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And all jokes aside, I'm not trying to shit on Cyborg. I think she's a little bit too extremely overrated. Now we'll find out. I could be wrong. Maybe she's not overrated. Maybe she comes out and destroys Holly in the first round, in which case I will eat my words and shut the fuck up. But until then, her best win is Tanya Evinger.
That's a good point.
I mean, it's just real facts, man. She is very feared, but she has eaten up a lot of young prey. She has not fought many other lions. Saturday night, she fights another lion. We'll see. I think she's going to win. I hope to Christ Holly wins, but I think that Cyborg will probably win. I suspect she is who we think she is. Mm-hmm. But Saturday, make no mistake about it, Saturday night will by far be her biggest test. And she might start Holly out. Holly has a problem being a little gun shy. And Cyborg is probably not the right chick to do that with. So she very well may snuff Holly out. But no matter what, going up to this fight, Holly will be the biggest test that she's ever had. Now, all that being said, how does this fight play out? It's hard to say. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If Holly lets her strikes go and she fights like she has nothing to lose, I think she could absolutely beat Cyborg. She's a good counter striker. She's big enough. She's fucking strong enough to actually hurt Cyborg and make her respect her striking. And I don't think that she's incompetent on the ground. So Holly could definitely win this fight. But Cyborg's got that fucking old school Vanderlei, Fedor-esque type of, fight ending power for a female that we haven't really seen anybody be able to withstand yet. So
does she?
Well, I mean, who is taking a beating from Cyborg and lived to tell the tale?
You're right, but I mean, she doesn't have that one hitter quitter power. We've seen a lot other women that have that power. I mean, what she does is she overwhelms you with the barrage that she brings. And yeah, it's pretty intense. And, you know, if you don't know how to handle that storm, you're going to wither and, you know, get eaten up by that storm, which is what usually happens. But I mean, we haven't seen her actually hit another, you know, 145 and put him to sleep with one shot, right? Like, I don't think it's ever happened. Pretty much it's always been a ground and pound, like a sustained beating that everybody takes that they just can't withstand, and they wither and go away. And I think the problem is that we saw what was happening in the Tanya Evinger fight, right? Evinger was good enough to withstand that barrage, but she just wasn't good enough to continue on after that barrage. Like, she survived the barrage, and then Cyborg slowed down and tried to be more methodical. And then we started seeing her kind of not, you know, she didn't have much else after that. Right?
Evinger had nothing to offer back offensively.
Yeah, and that's the problem, right? But imagine if you have someone like Holly, like maybe like even a Raquel Pennington or like a Kat Zingano, any of these girls that can survive that barrage and then after offer you something in return. You know, I think that would be a much more interesting thing. And I agree with you. I think in a certain sense she is overrated, but I think so was Royce Gracie in the sense that when he started, you know, in the game, nobody had what he had. And if you're putting it in that context, then he was overrated as well, because as soon as people got cardio and wrestling down, then the reign of Royce Gracie was over, right? Everybody started doing jiu-jitsu and started becoming mixed martial artists. And I think that's the problem we have here, is that the women have to catch up to what Cyborg has. And what Cyborg has is she has an aggressive style that's really hard to you know, survive through, you know? But that's about it. Like, once you survive the storm,
Listen,
she doesn't have much else.
The Royce Gracie analogy is a good one. And if we're using that one for all you old school fans out there, Mr. Joey Tremendous, if you're watching, you will not get this fucking reference. But in that world, Holly is her Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the first time she's fighting somebody that will be on par with her, that will be as big as her, that has her level of striking and technique and talent. This will be Cyborg's first big test. Make no mistake about it. I'm picking Cyborg and rooting for Holly. So I feel like I get a win-win either way. I'm either going to be right and Cyborg's going to Thunderstrike her, or I'm going to be happy and Cyborg's going to get Thunderstruck. So either way, I'm pretty jovial for this fight.
There you go. Here's the thing, though. Like, okay, so Holly Holm wins. She, you know, first of all, Holly Holm could be the one to take down two basically legendary fighters, right? If you head kick Ronda Rousey, you take her out, become champ. If you can do that or just defeat Chris Cyborg, Jesse, where do you put Holly Holm as far as like in the pantheon, I guess, of female MMA, women's MMA?
Man, it's tough, because then I think you have to put her in that Fabricio Verdum area, right? Because Fabricio Verdum, he was able to beat, you know, the greatest heavyweight of all time in whatchamacallit, Fedor. And then he was also able to defeat, you know, not C-level Kane, right? So, I mean, two of what we would consider the greatest heavyweights of all time, and Fabricio Verdum was able to beat them. Yet, nobody really considers Verdum anything because he hasn't really been dominant. He hasn't really, you know, he's not just like one of those dominant fighters that catches your attention, right? It's the two people that he beat that was catching our attention. Yet, that shine never transferred onto Fabricio. And I think that's what's going on with Holly Holm. She utterly shocked the entire world by head kicking Ronda into retirement, right? And let's say she does that or something similar to that to Cyborg. Do we really think that Holly Holm is going to be the next big star? I don't think so, man. If it was going to happen, it would have happened when she did that to Ronda. And I think right now what we're going to have is we're going to have a champion at 145 that is not going to be able to defend against anybody. And I just think it's just going to be a lost opportunity for her.
Yeah, no, and I could definitely see that now. You know, as far as Chris Cyborg goes, a win for her, it's just kind of business as usual, right? But, like, I mean, Fred, we talk about this all the time. Okay, it's like, what do you do with Chris Cyborg? But she beats Holly Holm, then what do you do with Chris Cyborg? Because she's not dropping on 135.
Fuck, I don't know, man. Jesus Christ. If she wins, I suppose you fucking completely fucking gut Invicta's featherweight division. Do a featherweight.
They already did.
do it again.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, there's literally, I don't think the UFC literally has another woman on roster at 45, right? Jermaine Durand to me flat dipped out.
Megan, right? Megan
Yeah.
Anderson. Megan Anderson's on the roster. She used this
guys.
whole. Well, no, real quick. She
literally
used
one other girl.
Yeah, this is one. Oh,
Literally.
no, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right.
We need a division. They have to. So listen, if Cyborg wins, we've reached a fork in the road with 45. Either they say fuck it and let Cyborg go and be done with 45, because she clearly ain't making 40 or 35. We can be done. Not doing it. So either they let that go, or they have to invest some money and some resources in building a division, no matter how podunk around it. I mean, they have to go out and get at least 8-10 girls that they can start. I mean, what the fuck? If she can't be the fucking champion of the division, it literally has one girl in it.
Well, how about this, Fred? I know this is the worst idea possible, and I hate myself for bringing up this idea.
I know
and I know you guys already know what it's going to do. But if you're thinking of looking for at least women enough to fill up a roster and say you have a division, I mean, basically the only route is doing a tough season where that winner gets a title shot. And I mean, then you at least fill out the division, right? But again, remember, if you go on whatever website that is that has the 145ers and ranks them all in the entire world, I think there's 16 people. And I think it's 145 and up. That means that includes Gabby Garcia at super whatever ultra fat weight, and other women that are just not 145. So that's not even a true representation of what women are at 145 out there.
Listen, I'll one up you. I agree with you. If we're gonna be stuck with fucking tough and Cyborg wins and we're gonna ride this train with her, absolutely do it tough. And I'll tell you what else I would do. If I was fucking WME, if you'll remember, the most, I could be wrong, but I think I'm right. The most highly rated season of Tough ever was the all heavyweight season, correct?
Because of Kimbo Slice, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And because of Kimbo Slice, mostly because of Kimbo Slice.
Mostly. But
they also had Big Country.
Mm-hmm.
They had people on there that we knew. Now, we don't really know no female 145ers. True enough. But there's a broad named Joanne Barr that beat fucking Cyborg in a Muay Thai fight. I would find that fucking bitch and I would promise her the moon and the sky to get her in this house. And then I would give her easy matchups to try like Christ to get her into an MMA fight, because I would at least know that she could knock the fuck out of Cyborg if that fight ever occurred. Also, I just seen a video recently. I think it was on the Countdown show, and I don't know the lady's name. I forget, but she's I think she's one of the most decorated female boxers, a black broad.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what her name was, but she was sparring with Cyborg. And listen, Cyborg was doing okay, but she was getting that work too. Fucking homegirl's a fucking a world class boxer. I realize that boxing has their hooks in a lot of these people, but maybe the girls aren't quite like the Floyd Mayweathers. Maybe with enough money, they could get her in the house, or just some other big female names that might give us. Listen, if they get Joanne Barr and that fucking heavy or that fucking boxing broad, I'll tune in. Couple fucking crazy broads from Japan or something. I mean, we gotta do something. Let's have some fun.
Well, how about this? You know how if we're trying to spice it up a little bit and throw in something that we haven't seen before, why don't we try to get 145ers from different areas that are willing to come in and fight, like maybe like a judo champion, a wrestling champion. That way you can bring in your Jarena Bars, and you can bring in a bunch of other women from different areas, and just kind of it's gonna be a freak show, right? It's not gonna be a fun season, because we're gonna see some really low level MMA probably.
It's gonna be real fun.
At least we'll get somebody at the end of that, right? Somebody that at least has won 2 in a row, or maybe even 3 in a row, and is gonna have a good opportunity to fight Cyborg. And I think that's the best bet we have. And then after that, we fill in the rest of the top 15, top 10, whatever we got.
All right, before I introduce our friend and our guest and our friend from LoudMouth MMA, real quick, let me go through YouTube comments. The return of Gun Death. I know you guys remember Gun has been gone for a minute. Welcome back, sir. Raider Jab in the comments. What's up? UC's here. Let's see who else. Dan from Oregon's here. Joey Tremendous. What's up, dude? I hope you got that Ken Shamrock reference earlier. Google that shit. Uncle Hank Drinking Buddy's here. And Pierre Rose is here. What's up? Yeah, the whole gang's here. What's up, fellas? All right. Like I said a second ago, what up?
I was just going to say, sorry, Eddie, to cut you off. Better yet, Joey Tremendous, if you did not get the Ken Shamrock Hoist Gracie reference, Mr. Kyle Steele has a new podcast where he's actually going and reviewing starting at UFC 1.
There you go.
Go check that out, and you'll get the whole backstory on why Hoist Gracie Ken Shamrock is very much akin to Chris Cyborg Holly Holm.
Yeah, Kyle. But before we ask you about Holly Holm and Chris Cyborg, tell people about that new little venture of yours there.
Well, there it is. Yeah, I mean, we're going back through every single UFC event. We're also going to do Pride and WEC as well, but dude, it's going to take forever to get to this stuff. We'll try to do like 2 episodes in a week, like as often as we can. But I mean, listen, we're basically going to do 150 events or something for the UFC. We'll probably go to UFC 150. We don't need to go any further than that. So that's going to take 3 years.
Yeah,
doing it once a week. So I mean, yeah, it's going to take a hot minute to get through these. But we're also going to, like I said, we're going to work in some Pride and some WEC. I actually just got done recording our breakdown episode. We do a breakdown for every card, and Tony Fagnano wanted me to tell Eddie hello.
Oh, Tony, buddy, what's up, man?
What's funny is I told him I was like, are you setting me up? Because I listen, Tony pisses a lot of people off. So I was like, I was worried. He's like, yeah, tell Eddie I said what's up. And I was gonna be like, does Eddie not like you? And then I'm gonna get into a weird situation because you're not a very likable guy. Sean and I created a parody account today live on the podcast. He is Big Tone MMA.
Yeah.
So we just created Little Tone MMA. and we are going to use that Twitter account to get in arguments with MMA journalists. Everything that Tony's good at. So I'm really excited to get going on that. As if I, have ample fucking time to just use parody accounts now. I could barely use my own goddamn social media.
Shit, man! If you guys don't know about Big Tone, that Big Tone MMA, that's my buddy Tony. He helps run MMA Today News. So make sure you give that guy a follow. And yeah, that's my favorite thing about him is he pisses a lot of people off. That might be the number one thing I like about that dude. He's fucking hilarious. So.
Well, we are a match made in heaven because I've seemed to be getting pretty good at it as of recent.
There you go. All right, so we were just talking about the main event at UC 219, and we're talking about why how Holly Holm can win, and Chris Cyborg, what it means for her if she wins or loses. What do you think about this fight? Like, how do you see it going?
I spent a long time really kind of thinking Holly Holm was going to win this. The problem is the more and this is not the right word to use, meditate. That's not, I didn't literally meditate on these fights, but the more I think about it, the more I kind of sit in those ethers or whatever, the more that there's no reason that Cyborg is not going to come in here with an actual game plan. There's a very real possibility that Cyborg goes in and takes her down 6 times and ground and pounds her. Listen, by submission is like a plus 900 odds. Cyborg by submission is like a plus 900. I think there is an incredibly easy line of logic you can follow to Cyborg getting a submission. I think that makes a lot of sense. And you don't really hear anybody talking about it. Listen, if you get choked the fuck out by Miesha Tate in the way that she did, why do you think Cyborg can't do the same thing but worse? Now, it's because Cyborg, when she gets you down to the ground, she's trying to TKO you. That's what she's going to try to do. But listen, when she gets her down, Holly is like a fish out of water when she gets down. She starts flopping around. She starts rolling around. Well, listen, it's hard to TKO someone when they're doing that. But you know what's real easy? Grabbing their fucking neck and choking the lights out of them. So I kind of think that's where this fight goes. And you could hit a pretty big odds then. Plus 900 for a submission? Get out of here. That's crazy. So that's the avenue that I'm going to travel down. I'm not going to put a whole bunch of money on it, but I'm definitely taking a bite of that.
It's a good move.
To anybody who there's 2 question marks, Cyborg's record, nobody will fight her. If nobody fights her, she can't build a record up. Anybody who has a name, she has asked to fight, and everyone who has a name has chosen not to fight her. Well, how can you can't build your record up that way. Number two, Cyborg's normal way of winning is by swarming. It's because she hasn't had to do anything else. She's never had to not do that. Well, this is a fight where swarming isn't in her best, isn't the best idea. So I think she's just going to take her down. We haven't seen her on the ground. You don't need to see her on the ground. She's fine. I'll just let you know ahead of time. I know you haven't seen it. I haven't seen it either. Spoiler alert. She's going to be perfectly fucking fine. So she's a brown belt in BJJ. I'm pretty sure Holly Holm's a blue belt. Holly Holm trains at one of the most overrated gyms in the country. I just
listen.
I don't disagree.
Can we just get to it? Fucking Cyborg trains with Gabby Garcia on the ground, and they're both shooting steroids in each other's ass cheeks in the back before they go out there. So I fucking don't put it faster.
Can I put a bow? Can I put a bow on that real quick? I want to put a bow on my thing. This is all I'm going to end with. If Cyborg comes out and she swarms and she fights how she normally does, I really do think that there is a very legitimate argument that Holly Holm wins that fight. I just don't think that's what's going to happen. So there you go. I just want to put a bow on it.
Yeah, fair enough, man. So, all right. So, Jesse, you have something on that?
No, I was just going to ask Kyle, the thing that worries me the most about Cyborg and a game plan is that the biggest thing with Cyborg is when you try to tell Cyborg what to do and how to do something, she kind of likes to do the opposite. Look at her nutritionist, look at her coaches, look at all the people that have been in her life, her managers, all the people that have been there to steer her in the right direction, to make the right decisions, and she chooses not to do that. And I think that's the biggest problem too of her, is that she likes to do things her way. And, obviously it's been successful up to a point, but like you said, Holly Holm is not the person you want to do that to. You don't want to be the person that rushes Holly Holm and then she takes a couple steps back, puts a fist in your face or a foot in your face, and then you go to sleep. And then, all the hard work that you've been doing up until now goes away. I think.
Did he freeze? Oh,
yeah, I think he's freezing.
Come on, Vegas Wi-Fi. There you go. No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's the hardest thing for me, not to get over the fact that if she's just going to do what Cyborg normally does, it's just not going to be a good night for her. And it's hard for Cyborg not to do what Cyborg does.
Yeah.
I mean, with Jason Perla in your corner, though, like, kind of strategy.
Well, but I think what he's saying is that it's like, listen, you can have a strategy. You can spend an entire – look at Eddie Alvarez. Was Eddie Alvarez's strategy through that entire camp to stand and box with Conor McGregor? Fuck no.
Right.
He got in there and didn't do what his game plan was. Now, he didn't do his game plan because he got rocked. Someone like Cyborg may not do the game plan because she gets in there and instincts kick in. She's so used to being able to just to swarm anybody who gets in her path. So she gets in there, and this isn't the right opponent for that. But listen, even if she does swarm her, if she swarms her and pushes her up against the cage and holds her there, well, any tools that Holly Holm has are going to be obsolete anyway. But again, this is by far the strongest person I think that Cyborg is ever going to fight. So far, I should say. I mean, Holly Holm she's meaty, man. So I don't know. I just, like I said, the game plan obviously has to be get her down to the ground because she's just nonsense down there. I mean, it's so at this level, I should say, nonsense down there. So that has to be the game plan. If she doesn't do that, then that's stupid because that's an easy pathway to victory.
No, definitely. All right, anything else on this fight before we move on to the co-main? You good?
Nope.
All right, cool.
Just glad Cyborg's actually getting a fucking challenge.
Yeah, man. I'm excited. Good for her.
And it's not, believe me, I don't believe Megan Anderson is a challenge for Cyborg at all. I really don't think so. That's for another day.
Not more than Holly's going to be.
No. Don't even get me started on that.
All right. Co-main event, we see the return of Khabib Nurmagomedov. Hopefully fucking makes it to the cage against Edson Barboza. A lot of people thinking this is going to be not a number one contender fight. But look, if this okay, who has more to win here, Fred, between Khabib and Edson Barboza? Because a lot of people have been waiting for Khabib to come back. Dude can't make weight. He can't make weight. Should he move up? Should he just fucking quit? What do you want to do with him? And then, if he wins, do you go right to Conor? Do you go to Tony? I mean, there's a lot of ways you can go with this, but who has the most to gain out of this fight to you?
Khabib. I mean, if Khabib comes back and wins, then he's on track for everything that we've thought he could do. I mean, Khabib's the guy, man. Khabib's the guy that had the win over RDA before Eddie got that win.
Right.
Khabib's the guy that's undefeated. Sure, I know he, has trouble making weight. Fucking hashtag tiramisu. I get it. The whole thing. I understand. But when that motherfucker competes, short of getting punched in the face by Michael Johnson, who he then went on to dominate like a fucking little brother. I don't even think I could beat my fucking kid that badly. I mean, he's the one. He's the guy. He needs to win so that we can all keep this thing alive. And let's face it, what's the real money fight at 55 right now, other than, fucking George dropping to 55 or something crazy? It's Khabib versus Conor in Russia.
Yeah.
Like that, or Ireland. You know what I mean? Like, they're the two guys that literally have a nation on their shoulders right now. Tony, he's cute, but meh. Barboza, we've had plenty of Brazilian stars. It is what it is. Fucking Khabib in Russia and Conor in Ireland. That's the magic. That's what we all want. And let's face it, all in all, I mean, Tony and Conor is very interesting stylistically speaking too. But if Conor can win that fight with Tony and Khabib wins this fight with Barboza, Conor versus Khabib is the one. That's the one that we all want as hardcore fans. Even the local yokel dickheads at your local fucking Piggly Wiggly will be stoked for that fight if it comes to fruition. So Khabib, man, everything's riding on Khabib in this fight. Better, worse, the whole fucking lot.
All right, Kyle, what are you thinking?
Oh, goodness. This is another fight where I was going into it kind of wanting to pick Barboza, but the more that you think about it, the more you look at stuff. And also what really helped was going back, rewatching the Michael Johnson fight on mute. Throw that bad boy on mute. So I'm watching it. It's on mute. And at one point, Khabib gets like a little bit rocked. Like not even, he takes a shot, he stumbles back, he moves back forward. And I went, okay, that wasn't it. I was like, he got really rocked in this fight. That wasn't it. So I kept watching and I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. That was it. So then you go back and watch it with commentary. And when that shot lands, Joe Rogan loses his fucking mind. He freaks the fuck out when that shot lands. When you watch it on mute, Khabib's fine. Like he didn't get rocked. It's one of those, like, he got rocked as much as anybody gets rocked landing a flush punch to the face. I mean, you're going to stumble back a little bit, but like at no point was he in any real danger. So you got to go back and watch that fight on mute, and it really puts into perspective what that shot was. So my question is, I don't really know how exactly you beat Khabib. What I can say is that the way that Barboza gets finishes, that's not the way to do it. Secondly, throwing a bunch of kicks, not going to end super well, because one of those bad boys are going to get caught and you're going to get taken out of the ground. If you do get taken to the ground, he said on Embedded, the dumbest, most asinine fucking nonsense about, well, if we go to the ground, Khabib's about to get shocked. I'm going to show him stuff that he doesn't know I have. Are you out of your goddamn mind? If Khabib gets you down to the ground, the floor is lava, motherfucker. Get up. Get up. Do not roll around. Do not try to show that you can do this. I can throw elbows up. You know what it reminds me of is another guy who's on this card, Carlos Condit, going into the Damian Maia fight, going, well, if I get taken out of the ground, nobody knows how good my jits really is. It's like he's already conceding the fact that he's going to get taken down. You should go into that fight life or death. I can't get taken down, period. Like that should be your mantra. I cannot get taken down. If you're going into the fight and the mantra you're telling yourself or the mantra you're telling other people is, if I get taken down, you guys are going to be shocked. No one's going to be shocked. If you get taken down and you hang out down there, you're going to get finished. That's not surprising, right? So it reminds me of Carlos Condit. I'm still a little sick, guys. It reminds me of Carlos Condit going into the Damian Maia fight. He kept saying over and over again, well, if I could go down to the ground, sure enough, he gets taken down to the ground. The fight lasts about 30 seconds. If you guys want to go watch it, spoiler, didn't turn out great.
Listen, there's a fucking video of Khabib wrestling a bear when he was like 9.
Yeah.
Goddamn fact, Jack. That's a fucking real fucking video. If they hit the ground, Barboza's dead.
God, it's so dumb. What if I go down to the ground? I'm going to show him what I got. Get the fuck out. Listen, maybe you do have tools on the ground. I'm not saying you don't. Now's not the time to show them. Now's not the time to show them. Listen, maybe you got a big dick, but we're in a park right now. So now's not the time to show me how big it is. Let's get out of the park first. Like,
that's a good point. No, go ahead.
There's a time and a place. If you've been working on your ground game and you got some stuff you'd like to show some people, there's a time and a place. Fighting Khabib Nurmagomedov. What did Khalibib? Fighting Khalibib. This isn't the time to show it. When you're fighting Khalibib, that's not the time to show it.
Jesse?
Oh, okay. No, I was like, maybe you got something else to add there, Kyle. But you know what? I agree with you, but I also disagree with you in the sense that if you are a fighter, you have to believe that you can win in every aspect of this fight business. Like, you have to have that confidence. Conor is never going to say that, oh, I'm not going to get taken down. Oh, I'm going to lose this position. Like, he's like, yeah, if it goes there, I've got something for him. Oh, if this happens, I've got this. Like, the confidence that you have to get into these fights has to be there. Because let's say, for example, you take up the mentality of, okay, I cannot get taken down. If I get taken down, like, I have to get back up. It's life or death situation. Now, let's just take the statistic of Khabib. He does what, like 3 to 6 takedowns per round or something like that, right? That's like his average.
Right.
So chances are you're going to get taken down more than once. And that kind of mentality where you're like, I can't get taken down. Then you start losing your mentality of, damn, this dude is just taking me down at will. I can't do anything to stop him. That's when you start breaking. See, but if you have the mentality of, okay, I'm going to get taken down. I'm going to try to do something. I'm going to try to get back up. You accept what's going to happen and you have something planned for it. That's better than saying you cannot do this. Because think about this. Remember when, what's his name? The leg breaker, the knee breaker, what's his name? Paul Harris, when he was running through the UFC, everybody kept saying the same thing. Don't let him take you to the ground, because when he takes you to the ground, he goes after your leg and destroys it. Yet Alan Belcher had the opposite idea. Alan Belcher said, you know what? I'm going to train. I'm going to do everything I can to go into this guy's world and meet him in his world and beat him in there and get out of there without getting my legs snapped. And he was able to do it, survive, and TKO a guy that everybody thought was unbeatable on the ground. All that to say, I agree with you, Kyle, that you have to know that being on the ground with a guy like Khabib is probably up there with, having a fist fight competition with Chris Cyborg. It's not going to end well for most people. But if you are already prepared for what's going to happen and you mentally have it in your head, I have something for this and I can prepare for this moment and I'm going to get past this moment no matter what happens, I think that's a better place to be in than saying that it's life or death to get taken down. Because, again, that's where people get broken. That's where people start, losing their confidence. Like, damn, this dude is just taking me down. Yeah, he's going to take you down. He's the best guy in this division, probably in the whole UFC at takedowns. I mean, the way he takes you down, against the cage, in open mat, off of all kinds of attacks, there's just so many ways he can take you down. It's just an impossible task to say you're not going to get taken down by this guy. Yet, I think, and here's where I'm going, I think Khabib hasn't seen someone that has the attacks that Edson Barboza has, the speed that Barboza has, he doesn't set anything up. With Michael Johnson, he sets up a lot of his stuff. You see a lot of the stuff being telegraphed. with Barbosa, those leg kicks are coming so fast, and his ability to hide some of his kicks and his punches behind some of his jabs and his leg kicks and stuff like that. Those are what sets him apart, and the speed. For me, it's the speed that's going to be the difference here. And yeah, it could be throws the leg kick after the first or second one. Khabib takes him down and just beats him to a pulp. Yeah, that could very well happen. But I think that speed difference is going to be something that Khabib is not used to. And I think that might be a problem for him in this fight. And I think Barbosa is going to be able to do something incredible in this fight and take that win. By the way, Eddie, to answer your question, I think Barbosa is the one that has the most to gain out of this fight. Because for Khabib, we could say, okay, Khabib, he's just not able to cut enough weight. He's just not healthy enough at 155. There's plenty of excuses you can make for Khabib if he loses this fight. He took a long time off, blah, 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 blah. For Barbosa, this is do or die. I mean, you're going up against one of the best in the world, and not many people are clamoring for him to do anything to be a competitor at 155, right? But he's an exciting fighter, but nobody sees him as a top competitor, right? Nobody sees him as a number one contender. If he's able to pull this off, I mean, he immediately becomes a number one contender, in my opinion.
Can I just say that I think, because I didn't answer that question, I think Khabib has the most to lose, and I think it's not even close. I think it's not even close. I mean, if Khabib, Barbosa will never have a $500,000 payday. It's just not going to happen. Khabib absolutely can. Like, there is a very clear pathway for that man pulling in close to $1 million in a fight, because, as I don't know who said it, Fred or Eddie, he has a whole nation behind him. Barbosa does not. There are a lot of Brazilian fighters. He does not. He's not high on that list, and I don't foresee even getting maybe a big win here and beating Tony or something in a rematch. Like, I still don't see him getting this massive appeal in Brazil more than he already has. Khabib, on the other hand, I mean, a country how much bigger than Brazil, right? I mean, it is.
And Khabib don't let you forget it either.
Yeah,
he
tells you.
I mean, it is
100 million.
And they are obsessed with him. I mean, he is a god to these people on some level. So I think he absolutely has the most to gain and absolutely has the most to lose. He loses here, he goes from making, whatever he makes now, right? He wins here, he goes from whatever he's making now to potentially fighting Conor, because I think that's a fight that Conor would take. It's a fight I think Conor would win. And especially if the fight happens in Russia, he could literally make $1 million. That's not happening to Barbosa. It's just not. It's not happening. I think Khabib has a lot to lose here.
I agree with you. He has a lot to lose, but I think the person that has the most to gain is Barbosa, just because of the win potential that he has here. Now, Khabib, on the other hand, you're right. Like, he has a nation behind him, but he has all those things already. That's not going to go away if he loses. And think about this.
This is only if he fights Conor. The anything that I'm talking about is all subject on him fighting Conor. If he wins here and he fights Conor, that's where it comes down to, because you're talking about the difference between $50,000 and $1 million. I mean, that's different universes. So, and that's what the difference would be if he wins here, continues building up, and fights Conor in Russia, which is something that's long been rumored.
Quickly,
but see, that's
let me just add something to the details of this fight right quick before we get off of it. And just as a quick thing, I think also, and this is really not based upon a whole lot of scientific knowledge, but just a hunch, I think that Khabib is the tougher man than Edson Barboza. I think if they get into a dogfight and they are both inflicting pain on one another, I think Barboza will fold first. And I do think this is a fight in which they're both going to take their licks. So I would say that I think that eventually Khabib will wear Barboza down. Wasn't it Donald Cerrone that wore Barboza down and eventually threw him a beating?
I think so.
I know Barboza has eventually been worn down, and when Barboza has lost, if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't been knocked out. He lost to Tony Ferguson. I think he lost to Cerrone. I think he lost in fights where he just couldn't tough it out with those guys. You know what I'm saying? And I think that might be because look, Barboza going to get his licks. Jesse's right. Homeboy's fast. He kicks hard and fast, and he punches. He's going to hit Khabib, but Khabib going to get his licks in too. And I think it's going to come down to which one of them can take more and keep pushing. And Khabib got that Russian blood, Jack. You got to choke those fuckers out.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. All right, the other fight that was the fight before that one is Dan Hooker against Mark Diakis. Now this fight's fair enough. It's gonna be a fun fight, but I want to talk about what the fight that was supposed to be there, which I believe was Jimmy Rivera against Marlon Moraes, not Marlon Moraes. Who was he? John Lineker. Sorry, John Lineker. Right? John Lineker, tooth infection, has to have surgery on the tooth and all that, and they tried to get Marlon Moraes to go in there, and he wouldn't do it. So now Jimmy's off the card, and Kyle has a theory about that. Go ahead. Sir.
Oh shit! So I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if this is the. I might. Oh, all right. I'll say it. Can I address the comment real quick? I just read a comment. Yeah. He said, "What are you smoking? Khabib makes 250, 500 right now." That's not true. So when he was fighting at UFC 209, that was the contract that he was offered. It was 500, 500. The fight literally before that, it was 24 to show, 24 to win. That was just for that fight because it was the main event on UFC 209. Initially, was it in the main or was it co? Regardless, it was for a belt on a pay-per-view that was very important to the UFC. So that's why that was for that contract. I doubt that's what he's making for this fight because there's no belt. You know what I mean? Although it is a co-main on another important card, but regardless, I don't think he's making 500. 250, 500 or whatever for this fight. So I think that number probably dropped back down. Maybe he's making $100,000 now. That's probably the case, but I don't think he's making 250, 500. Moraes, listen, and this is something that I was kind of thinking anyway. I don't want to give the guy who I talked to this about credit because I don't know if he would want people. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he wants it out that he's thinking this kind of thing. I don't know. So I'm just not going to say his name. But if he wanted me to, then I apologize.
I'll take the credit. I don't mind slanderizing.
No, this is somebody else. This is somebody else, obviously. But anyway, we were talking about it, and I kind of like this little theory. Sergio Moraes is on the juice. Oh, listen, he passes the Chael. He does not pass, I should say, the Chael Sun and I test. He looks like he's juiced up. That shot he landed on Aljamain Sterling sure felt juiced up to me. You know, and I wouldn't have ever really considered that he was juiced until this whole thing happened. Why would he not take this fight? You know, he makes a ridiculous amount of money. His contract is nuts. Why would he not take this fight? It makes no sense. Why would you not take it? So here's what I think happened, because he barely took any damage in that first fight. It was basically like he got into a bar fight and he got hit a couple times on the ground, whatever. Like, he was perfectly fine. So listen, I think he really does want this fight, right? So he said, hey, let's do it. Let's do this fight. Let's make it happen. And then, you know, he starts going through the process and his doctor reaches out to him and says, yo, Marlon, this shit's not out of your system, buddy. Like, even by saying you want this fight, you might be inviting USADA to make a random stop by your place, and we don't need that, man. So let's start cycling off. Let's see how long this is going to take to get out of your system. A day or two passes, and the doctors say, hey, man, you know what? It's not going to be out of your system in time. You know, like, you can't do this. We haven't heard anything from him. We haven't heard anything. He just basically declined to do it. Right. So I think he's on that juice. I think he wanted to do the fight and probably had somebody from his camp, you know, reach out and say, hey, because these steroids, for anybody who doesn't quite know how these things work, you know, say him fighting a bunch of time, like him fighting not that long ago, does not mean as soon as he got out of that octagon or the next day woke up, he didn't go back on some designer steroid, you know, to do some cycle through. Like, that's how these guys work, man. I listen, Nick Diaz, the Diaz brothers aren't kidding. Everybody's on steroids. I think everybody is at this point. I don't think there's really anybody who's not. But it just comes down to how much, and it comes down to like how many cycles and like all that kind of stuff. So I think Moraes is probably cycling down from some steroid use, and he can't accept the fight because he would immediately get drug tested upon signing that contract. So that is my tinfoil opinion on why that fight did not happen.
It's an interesting yet feasible, theory. Like that could be the reason, right? And I mean, the other thing too is Priya Rose just put on the comments. Hasn't he fought twice in less than 2 months? I mean, he didn't take much damage in either fight, right? If I remember correctly.
Right.
So I mean, he could have taken this fight. So I don't know. I like the theory, and I kind of lean towards it mostly because of Kirby losing his mind every time someone gets popped for fucking roids. That shit, I love that shit. It's funny.
Listen. Who was it, Nick or Nate, that said all these motherfuckers are cheating?
Nick,
right?
Nick was all on that shit.
I low key believe him. Look, man, real talk, quickly. What percentage of fighters do you actually think are cheating right now in the UFC? And I don't mean fucking coke and pot. I mean on PEDs, percentage wise. I'll go
75.
first. 80%.
Damn.
80%. I mean, if we're being like real talk, just because you ain't been caught, don't mean you ain't cheating. A whole bunch of people hadn't been caught till they had.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? John Jones, Anderson Silva, enough with the dick pills, bruh. Y'all got fucking caught. Vanderlei, Chell. Fuck, I can go on and on and on. People get caught constantly. Chad Mendez, he's still gone.
Yep.
He's coming back this year.
He is. I'm excited to watch him, man. That's going to be great. It doesn't look like he's lost a step, man. I don't.
Yeah.
Have you been watching the sparring videos?
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that? I was watching a little bit of Luke Thomas's live chat today.
Yeah.
And somebody asked him a question about somebody I forget, but they also mentioned Ben Rothwell because he's been gone for steroid use. But you know what I found interesting about it? Nobody really gave a fuck that they cheated. You know what everybody wanted to know? When would they be back?
Yeah.
That's all we want to know. When's Big Ben coming back? Never mind that we caught the cute big prick cheating.
It's gonna keep getting worse here. I mean,
we don't care. I swear we don't. I swear we don't. As MMA fans, we have the least amount. In MMA, we're literally trying to kill each other. I swear MMA fans care the least about steroids. We get caught, and we don't think shit about it. Like, it's like, okay, well, when's Big Ben coming back? Fuck that. Send in the Bellator.
But here's the thing, though. I think that we have that sense of the steroid thing because most of the guys that are, began with this journey of MMA were like bros, right? Bros that are in the gym, snorting coke and, doing steroids and, doing curls for the girls and stuff. So it's like, it's kind of part of the culture, right? It's part of the culture. It hasn't changed since it started. But I think the other thing is too, that you also have to think, I'm okay with the steroids that help you to recover. I'm not okay with the steroids that are, gonna turn you into Vitor, 2.0 or Uberim and stuff like that. But I think that the guys that needed to recover to help to be able to make it to a fight because, they sprained an ankle, rolled an ankle in practice, stuff like that, I'm okay with that stuff. And I think if we disclose all this information and we have an open discussion about what people are taking, what they're using to get to fight night, I think that's a better discussion than trying to do what we're doing right now, which is playing this cat and mouse game where, what do they call Nowitzki, the golden snitch, where he's trying to catch people, right? And here's the other thing, Kyle. I gotta disagree with you about the whole Moraes thing, about him not passing the eye test, because there was a guy that just popped recently, maybe like last month, and he was the fattest, most addictive fighter I have ever seen in my entire life. And he popped.
Listen, it doesn't apply to everybody. It doesn't apply to everybody. No, it's not universal.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, Moraes, we've seen him, and you can go back and look at his fights back in the day, back when he was in Brazil, and you could say he's been doing steroids since then. But he's had basically the same physique, the same style, the same, just aggression. And
listen, I don't think he started doing steroids last week. I think he's probably been doing them his whole career.
No, you're right. He could be, but up until someone gets popped, I just don't think. I think he put out a video. I think it was yesterday. but Vegas, so I haven't had a chance to watch it. But he was saying something about that he wants to make Jimmy Rivera pay for something that he did or something like that. He has some sort of vendetta against him. So I think there's more to this story than we're privy to. But I agree with you. I think that if you're a guy that you want to be in this in the UFC and you want to be a contender, when you say, hey, I'm going to take this fight and let's do it, and someone is telling you, all right, well, you're not going to make weight, we'll make a catch weight, you answer the call. And even though I'm a big Marlon Moraes fan, this disappointed me beyond anything of him not taking this fight, because this was an opportunity for him to get 3 wins in a year and put himself in a good position for the upcoming year to be a top contender.
I don't think he should have taken the fight. I just don't think he should have offered in the first place. Like, right. I think he should have just stayed out of the whole thing from the get-go. You have listen, just right off, man, you had a really big finish. This is an awful fight for you to take, especially on this short notice. Like, just don't even mess with it. But when you came out and said you were taking it, you cross a line into hyping. Because listen, if this fight gets booked in, say, a couple months, it's going to be more hyped than it would have initially. So at the end of the day, doing this whole thing there is a causal effect, right? A positive causal effect. But like, I don't know. I don't think that that's what this was. You know what I mean? And if I did, then maybe I'd look at it. You know what I mean? Maybe I wouldn't be so hard on Moraes. Let me also say real quick, I know we're so sidetracked on this show, and I apologize because I know that I'm like one of the worst about doing it. But can we just get back to steroids real quick? Just for one little second here.
Go ahead.
So you're telling me that there exists a substance that if people take it, you will see more knockouts, you will see more exciting fights, you will see people with better cardio, and we're banning that substance? Why? Make it legal. Why does anyone give a shit? Listen, if you want to pump yourself through full of horse semen and walk into the octagon, why does anyone care? Now, the problem is if you're doing it in secret and people don't know, I get it. That's the issue. Because one guy's walking in there, roided out of his mind, and the other guy is killing himself trying to cut weight. And that, you know what I mean? Like, I get that. It needs to be mutual. But legalize it in every sport. Baseball, pump that shit full of steroids. I stopped giving a shit about baseball when Barry Bonds, you know what I mean? Everyone started hating him for hitting 73 home runs. I stopped giving a shit about baseball because they're trying to clean it up. Get out of here. Clean it up. Baseball sucks. Let everyone do steroids. That way it's interesting. Football. I don't give a shit. You pump yourself for whatever makes you run quicker. Let's see more people scoring. Oh, I like defensive games. Fuck off. No, you don't. You just say that because the sport's boring and you're trying to give yourself an excuse to watch it. You want to see people score as many touchdowns as humanly possible. Let everybody do steroids across the entire world, because here's what's happening. In all seriousness, what's happening by having this black market of steroids is they're getting more dangerous and they're getting harder to detect, because all that happens when you abolish something, all that happens is a black market then pops up, and everything that gets created by that black market becomes far more dangerous than the initial thing itself, because everyone's trying to get clever and trying to hide it. And in doing so, they're putting chemicals into this stuff that no human has any business ingesting into themselves. Had you just kept the things legal in the first place, we'd have just been doing HGH, and that was it. You just kept it at that, and boom, you're done.
Okay, boys.
And rant.
I know we got to wrap it up, but Jesus H. Christ, there's a lot back here. You two cute cocksuckers just exemplified all the reasons why we don't give a fuck that steroids are rampant in MMA. A, Kyle has completely went rogue. He's ready to call it quits on everything. He's just ready to let everybody in. B, we got Jesus, which is the most rule-bending cocksucker I've ever met. Oh, yeah, if you roll an ankle, sure. Let's take a little funny juice and bring it right round. Fucking Jesus is the type cute cocksucker that pounds a little Viagra and drinks a Monster, bangs his old lady all night, and then takes all the credit for it. You cheated. No. The steroid shit is out of hand.
Hey, if the end result was good, It don't matter how we got there, right?
You see,
Listen, why, Fred of all people, why do you give a shit if people are using steroids?
Jesus Christ, it's martial arts, not a baseball tournament, for Christ's sake.
What is more interesting, a finish or a not finish?
God damn it, a finish. But still, I want to see it pure.
Listen, pure, there's nothing pure. Genetics aren't pure. Chris Weidman, when he steps in an octagon, he has 12 times the amount of testosterone as the opponent standing across from him. How is that fair? How is that pure? There's nothing fair about that. The only thing that would be fair is if the guy who was standing across from him could use TRT. Then it's fair, right? Because you have guys with similar body compositions going up against each other. So fair is relative.
Fred, can we just agree to going back and grabbing the Pride contracts and then circling the little area that says we will not test for this?
Boom.
Like, not saying take it, but we just will not test for this thing.
You know what?
Right.
You know what? Fine. Let's just let him have it, please. Fuck it. Just bring John Jones back. You know what? You guys turned me. Fuck it. Why am I fighting it? Let's just do the damn thing. Let's just.
I
certainly don't know why anybody cares about like John George snorting coke. Let John Jones snort coke off of one of the ring girls as she's walking out of the fucking octagon. What? Who cares?
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I didn't give two shits about that doing coke
Right?
and dick pills. Give them all. Look, if it makes a fight like that, give them all the coke. I don't give a fuck. All right, but
dude,
the Roy
Scarface
thing,
that shit before walking out.
There you go. All right, let's. We gotta hit the. Yeah, we got. What's up?
You just give them a big pound of coke at the end of a fight. Come on.
Okay, hey, time out. We want to help. We want to let him get a good time, not kill him. What the fuck? Anyway, all right. Let's talk about the rest of this main card. Yeah, we're fucking running here. Dan Hooker against Mike Diakese. What are you thinking there, Jesse?
I think Hooker, he's pretty good, so hopefully he'll win that fight.
All right, Kyle.
Oh, Kyle's gonna eat me alive right now.
Excuse me, sir. So no, I'm not gonna go.
For a second. He was like,
"Excuse me." I'm clutching my pearls. Like, excuse me. And I think Mark Diakese wins the fight. I understand the. So the only thing I think that's going to happen here is that Dan Hooker has the. I hate using this word toughness. Yeah. Everybody's tough. You're in the fucking UFC, but I think he has the toughness that. I might keep Diakese from finishing him, but really that's about it. What happens with prospects, and that's not going to be a long rant, I promise.
Right.
I know I'm so bad about it, and I'm so sorry.
It's all good.
But listen, with Diakese, you know, when our prospects lose, we got all the hype behind the guy. We're like, this is going to be the guy. I love this guy. He's flashy. He's creative. He's powerful. He has speed. Right. And you really start building up these guys, and then they lose. It like people who then have a hard time ever picking them again, because then that's their man. They crush you. Like you were all in on this dude, and then he let you down. He lost a split decision against another really highly touted prospect. Right, that's I think super underrated. And it's gonna be even more underrated now that he just lost to Tamer. You know, so that's what happened to Diakese here. He lost a fight, and he hurt a lot of people along the way who were all in on him and thinking he was kind of the next coming in this division, the next guy that was going to be careening up. So now they're going to back away from him. In all reality, reverse that split decision. Okay, give Diakese the win there. He would have to do something because he clearly lost 2 rounds, but he'd have to do a little something more there. But have him more clearly beat close. And this isn't even a question. No one is looking at this fight thinking Dan Hooker stands a chance.
No way.
But I just think because of that, and because he was such a big prospect that lost before he really got a chance to prove it, I think it's going to throw some people off. I'm right where I was before. I'm not penalizing him for the close fight. I think close is really, really underrated. And I think that gym, MMA Lab out of, what is it, Phoenix?
It's Phoenix, Arizona. I
think is also a really underrated gym. So I listen, Jesus or Jesus is giving me the thumbs down. I like MMA Lab, man. I think you might even see someone like Lauren Murphy kind of all of a sudden come out of nowhere here.
All right.
And
Calm
shock
down
some
now,
people.
Kyle. Don't
Shock some people.
You've definitely rambled yourself into a hole at this point with the Lauren Murphy
world
bullshit.
champion 2018.
Oh my God,
Listen,
he just
I'm
called
on
it.
board with you with the Diakesi shit. I like the fancy striking, and I don't jump off the boat. I like that fancy spinning shit, so I'm riding with him.
He goes, I'm gonna need you to calm down about Lauren Murphy. Just relax.
I gotta stop.
Went too far.
You're getting the news.
Take a breath.
You went too far.
I like Diakesi, man. He's fucking,
Yeah, me too.
Kyle brings up a good point, man. Just because he lost a fight doesn't mean he's still not an exciting prospect. And again, I like the fancy shit, man. So I tend to pick with my heart, not my head. If I like you and you fight the way I like, I tend to ride with you because I want to see you win with that shit.
Yeah,
which means he'll probably inevitably lose, for the record. So put your money on the fucking Hangman.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, I got Diakesi as well. All right, the other female fight on this main card, actually this entire card. This card's actually pretty fucking short. It's like fucking 10 fights total. But anyway, Cynthia Calvillo against Carlos Esparza. So we got Carlos Esparza, who's former champion, first champion. If you guys remember, she beat Rosa Mayuna's champion now for the inaugural belt coming out of that tough season, and now she's taking a Calvillo who might be like she's easily in my opinion, she's easily like the highest rising female in the UFC right now, as far as like prospects go. Jesse, who are you picking?
Okay, so continuing on my, so you guys can hate on me, I'm gonna say Carlos Esparza.
Motherfucker, what I calling you?
I'm just joking. Come on, I wouldn't.
I was about to say Captain Hot Take over here.
But I don't downgrade Diakisi just because he lost that fight. I just think Hooker can catch him, and
For sure.
I have never been on the Carla Esparza hype train. I just think she's trash, honestly, and I just don't think that she was ever as good as everybody says she was. And I think Calvillo is just gonna eat her alive in this fight.
All right, fair enough. Fred.
Yeah, I like fucking Cynthia Carvalho. I fucking hate these broads. I can't say the fucking names.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. You know what I'm talking about.
Where was the
I actually agree with Jesus here. For as much time as I spend around you fucking Mexicans, you'd think I'd be able to roll my R's a little better.
At some point.
As talented as I am at eating snacks.
I was about to say, listen, Mr. Fruit Carby. Just finish your analysis.
I fucking suck at saying the name. Listen, I agree with fucking Jesse, ironically enough. I think Carlos Esparza is extremely overrated. And this is the fight to give Cynthia the boost she needs, I think.
All right, Kyle.
Yeah, I got Calvillo here, but I would say that I'm a little bit more cautious. I think this is a very hard fight to really go hard one way or another. I mean, Carla has been in the big fights and she's definitely been overblown, but that's not to say that I don't know. This fight's a lot closer, man, and we really haven't seen enough from Calvillo to really. But this is the fight, right? Like this is the fight where if she goes in there and her jits or wrestling, I should say too, is on the level that it's been on this entire time. That's when you start saying, okay, great, you really are this prospect. These are the X people you're gonna lose to everybody else. You're gonna steamroll. I just think that this is the fight, so it's gonna be really hard for me to go all in one way or another. I'm definitely picking Calvillo though. I mean, for sure. The line is batshit crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen the line on this. No. It's fucking absurd. It started like Calvillo's like a -300. That's nuts. That is insane.
That is pretty crazy.
Given the unknowns in this fight.
Right. Can I ask one question though? Does anybody know if Carla Esparza's team is here with her? Because I know Uncle Creepy also trains out of Team Oyama, and he's in Japan because he's fighting for Risen over the weekend. So did the coaches go with Uncle Creepy, or are they here with Carla? Because they can't be in two places at once. And if that's the case, you know that she's going to suffer if she doesn't have her team behind her.
Yeah.
Pause. Is Uncle Creepy fighting on the same card that Bob Sepp's fighting the bear?
Is Bob Sapp fighting a bear for real?
I love that fight. God, I hope.
I don't know if he's going to fight him, but I'm pretty sure they're putting him in a cage with some meat tied to him. So I don't know if they're going to fight, but if the bear's hungry, it could get interesting.
Shit, I want to watch it. Anyway.
God bless Japan.
Right?
Oh, shit.
Right?
God
You would
bless
hey,
it.
and anyone that's fucking shocked that they're doing shit like this, we dropped a nuclear bomb on them.
Dude, listen.
What did you expect to happen?
Well, not only that, just in the MMA world. Like, look what you're about to see with Gabby Garcia
Oh
again.
my god. She's gonna, dude, no, literally, you just said it right now. About 5 minutes ago, I was scrolling down Twitter. There's a video of the grandma she's fighting and her getting into a scuffle in the back because that's believable as fuck. Like,
no, it's just listen. If they actually got into a real scuffle, Gabby Garcia would have palmed her head and just like threw her through some type of rafter.
Bro,
like,
Gabby be in jail.
Get out of here.
Gabby be in jail. Okay.
I for real think we ought to let Gabby Garcia fight little men.
Yeah,
Like
just
that's the next thing.
That's the next thing. Let her start fighting like featherweights.
Seriously,
not featherweights, but flyweights.
Yeah.
Let her start fighting flyweights.
You know what? I'm gonna call it next year, New Year's Eve. Risen is gonna book Gabby Garcia against Bob Sapp.
I swear to God, I swear Gabby Garcia would submit Ray Borg.
No, here's the thing. No, think about it though.
Yes,
she gets in there. If she got in there with Bob Sapp, watch Bob Sapp actually fight and like fuck her up. Like that's like the thing that gets him going. That'd be fucked up, right? What up?
I know we got to go. I know we got to go. But you know what's funny about Bob Sapp, man, is and you'll actually learn this. I don't know how much you watched any old Pride shit, but you'll see it as you're going through this thing, Kyle. Bob Sapp used to be legit. Dude's actually got like wins over Ernesto Hoost. Yeah, which is like kind of like there was a point in time where Bob Sapp was actually as scary as he looks. He's like a star who used to be legit, who got addicted to crack, who's just like in a bus station performing now. Like now he's a complete fucking joke. But at one point he was a fucking animal. The Bob Sapp Nogueira fight. Just wait till you watch that one. That is one of the best fights you'll ever see. It's not very
Isn't it one of the scariest? To me, it was one of the scariest fights I've ever seen. That initial slam that he did, I thought he killed
power
somebody.
Driver. Yeah, he fucking gave him a power driver
on his neck.
Literally, man. Yeah, it was scary because Bob Sapp beat the fuck out of him. But I gotta tell you, man, that was one of those fights that like you see Brazilian jiu-jitsu save a life.
Yeah.
Like you're seeing this big black man beat the fucking, like you feel bad for him. Like, oh my God, stop it. And the next thing you know, he wins a fight with this Brazilian jiu-jitsu stuff. Like I knew what BJJ was at that point, and I still remember watching that fight going, wow, that stuff really does work. Like that just worked against a full-blown animal. What the fuck? Like, whoa.
Yeah, no, Bob Sapp's one of a kind, man. And again,
great fight. Great
like I was saying, thank God for Japan. Real quick, you got a fan in here or a friend in here, Jesse. Joel Paredes is in the comments saying, "What's up, Jesse?" And he says,
beekeeper.
Cynthia, the beekeeper is here, and Cynthia via guillotine in round 2. That's what he's calling for that fight. And then he says, "Do Gabby and Cyborg still train together?" Yep. If you watch the any of the embeddeds, there's actually footage of them training together. Well. Actually, no, I know the embeddeds, but you go on YouTube and they're like doing like what's that shit where you like workout dance?
No, there's tons of shit.
Zumba. In the embedded?
Well,
they Zumba together.
There's shit on them sparring together on the countdown show.
Oh, on the countdown. So have you checked the countdown?
Yeah,
they're still on there. And then Gabby jet set it to fucking Japan so she could beat up a grandma. Which, by the way, what I said, he said I got OG grants for that fight. Like, all right. Let's see that shit. All right. One more fight. It's the return of the natural born killer. Carlos Condit coming back against Neil Magny. Look, it's kind of, in my opinion, it's the move, right? If you're going to come back and get a warm-up fight, sorry, Neil, but Neil Magny. I'm taking Carlos Condit.
No. I'm jumping in, and I'm telling you right now, Neil Magny is stinking the joint up for me. I'm sorry, Neil. I know you're a fan of the homie Jeremiah and the Hardcore MMA show. I'm sorry. I should be way more excited for Carlos Condit's return and Neil Magny stinking it up for me. I'm sorry, but I'm just not.
Can I just golf clap?
He's murkying the waters up for me. I'm still excited, but I feel like, fuck, man. Where's Mike Perry at? He'll take that fight again. Come on. I mean, there's got to be somebody else out there that I could be more excited to watch Carlos Condit fight.
No, to clear it up, I meant if you're gonna have a warm-up fight to come back, Neil Magny's the guy. But no, I didn't want to see him against Neil Magny for shit. But if we're gonna get him back, whatever.
To get Carlos a win that matters.
That.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Jesse, who are you picking?
It has to be Carlos Condit, right? I mean, there's no other choice here. I mean, Neil Magny hasn't really proven that he's a good caliber fighter ever since he had that crazy, what was it, back and forth with what's his name, the guy that we know was on steroids for sure. That he had that first round where he got utterly obliterated, then he obliterated him in the second round.
Hector?
What's his name? Hector Lombard. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Fred. You know, ever since that fight, he's never been the same, and I think it was the damage he received in that fight, and the fights he had prior to that. He was a rising star, and then just he's fizzled out. And I think I agree with Fred. I think this is not the greatest return for Carlos Condit. He's going to get a win, hopefully here, but I don't think it's the best opponent he could have been coming back against.
Sorry, quickly before you go, Kyle. Now that I think about it, y'all answer me this question: doesn't Neil Magny kind of remind you of like the poor man's Carlos Condit?
In terms of what?
In the way of which they fight. Good lengthy strikers, good BJJ. Like he's kind of like Carlos Condit, but just not as good. Where the fuck would Neil Magny beat Carlos Condit in a fight?
I just can't believe this fight is even a question mark for people. That's insane to me. I just loudmouth bet on my breakdown podcast. So a loudmouth bet, I do this thing where I try to take underdogs as much as I can, but obviously this one I didn't. But we do this thing called loudmouth bet where if I disagree strongly enough with someone, I will agree to make a bet, and the loser has to do an apology video. So you go on Twitter or Facebook, whatever you choose. You basically have to apologize to like the fans who are listening to your bullshit and all sorts of stuff, right? We try to make them real fun. But anyway, so I got into a loudmouth bet for this fight because Sean is like all in on Neil Magny. No and I'm like, are you out of your goddamn mind? Neil Magny is horrible. Like, get out of here. And he goes, well, he's going to use his range. Neil Magny hasn't used his range in any fight he's ever been in. Are you kidding? Now, magically, he's going to use his range? Get out of here. And with Carlos Condit, listen, if you go back in time, and I hate playing these games, and I get it. It's real finicky. Okay, time travel is a fickle thing. Okay, but let's time travel just for a moment. Let's go back. Don't change anything about the fight whatsoever. The only difference is Carlos Condit's hand gets raised against Robbie Lawler, and that belt goes around his waist. Okay, he then, very next fight, defends that belt and loses to Damian Maia in the same exact way. Okay, then takes however long off to mentally recuperate, and it comes back in, one fight removed from losing his title to Damian Maia. Okay, and is fighting Neil Magny. Nobody on he's a minus 1,000 in that fight. The only reason why he's not a minus 1,000 is because there are these question marks because he did lose the Lawler fight, right? Mm-hmm. And then he goes and invites Damian Maia and has a horrible game plan, and talked about retiring and that whole thing. So it's just like where is he mentally? I mean, that's really the question mark here. From a skill standpoint, this isn't even close. It's not even close. It might as well be a UFC fighter fighting a guy from Titan FC. I mean, it's not, this isn't the same thing here. So it's just the mental shit. And I don't know. Yeah. I just don't think that's that big of a deal for this fight. I think Condit took the appropriate amount of time off. He did what fucking Donald Cerrone should do and isn't going to do. Yeah. I mean, take time off. Like, let your body heal up. Let your mind heal up. Figure out your next steps here. Like, take time. And enough fighters don't do it. So I think it'll be good for him.
Start a juice bar. Do some other shit in Albuquerque or something.
Yeah, man. Go get on steroids. Just,
Just fuck it, dude. Fuck it. All right.
Fuck it.
Other fights in this card, Khalil Roundtree against Michael. Fuck your last name, dude.
He's murking that dude. He's murking him.
He's going to fuck him up. Miles Jerry against Rick Glenn. Then the Italian Marvin Vittori against Omari Akhmedov, one of those scary Russian dudes. Luis Smolka.
That fight.
Yeah. Luis Smolka, for some reason, is cutting to 125 again, but whatever. Against Mateus Nicolau. And then Tim Elliott against Mark De La Rosa. for this for your early fight pass prelim. So that's your UFC 219 card. I thought it'd be bigger. It's not. What are you gonna do? But overall, like I like to rate this one. Like what I say is this: if it's a big enough card, for example, UFC like is it 215 was the one in New York with Connor and Eddie?
Yeah.
I think so.
That if you're at your house, buy it and stay home with like whoever comes over, but stay home. This card is go to the bar or $5 from each of your buddies and buy it at home and get some pizza and shit. It's not one of the ones you want to spend like $60 on by yourself. Okay, that's how I rate it. So,
agreed.
All right,
Definitely.
so that's gonna be it for that. So, anything else you guys want to talk about before we head out of here?
I want to talk about all the things.
I know you do. We'll have to go with another show next week for that. All right. By the way, you can follow. Actually, Kyle, throw all your social media stuff out there. When anything else you want to plug.
LoudMouth MMA everywhere. Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and whatever else. Just LoudMouth MMA. LoudMouth is one word. Same thing with the podcast. It's on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you listen to a podcast. You can find ours. It's, again, just LoudMouth MMA. Also, we plug the Nicolas Cage movie review hour, man. It's one of my favorite things to do. If for whatever reason you're into listening to like kind of comedy-based, basically just take how I'm acting right here, but instead of talking about MMA, I'm talking about a Nicolas Cage movie I just watched with a local comedian and my wife and one of my best friends. So really, that's all that it is. We do live shows, and it's just a blast, man. I love it. So check out the Nicolas Cage movie review hour.
All right. Jesse is currently in Vegas. You can follow him at Squad 1983.
Just hit me up.
If you're in Vegas, hit him up on Twitter. If he's still awake in the next, I don't know, couple hours, he might hang out with you, have a coffee.
Old man.
Have a coffee and a cookie crumb. Fred Kirby out of Dayton. Follow him at Kirby_MMA and the Jesse Jesus podcast. Real quick, Jesse.
Yep. No, that's what I was gonna say. Don't forget to plug that. I've been listening to Yellow Pain's album.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate the listen, man. Tomorrow actually we're gonna record the 2017 year in review. So that should be lit. We're talking what are we talking? We're talking Donald Trump, climate change, gun control, and we're all gonna give our top 3 albums of the year. So
so follow Kirby for that stuff for sure. All right, you can follow me at Elo31 and use all the Twitters are down here. You guys see all that shit.
Yeah.
All right, and of course, reptowarriors.com. Get yourself some gear, helps us out. And motherfuckers, it's been a crazy year. It's been a fun ass fucking year. All right, enjoy 219. Be wild, be crazy. Just don't drive. All right, don't hit nobody. Do your fucking thing. All right, and enjoy New Year's, motherfuckers. We'll catch you guys on the other side. All right. So for myself, the whole crew here, good night and good night, Wilshire.